A black man walked into a luxury car dealership and was treated poorly by the salesperson who had no idea he was the new owner. What happens next will surprise you and deliver a powerful lesson about respect and equality. Watch until the end to see how this story unfolds. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. James Bennett, a successful black businessman, the new owner of a prestigious luxury car dealership in his 40s, decided to secretly visit his newly acquired business. Although known as a pioneer in the tech industry, James wanted to see firsthand how customers were treated at his dealership, especially those who might not fit the stereotypical mold of a global innovation capital, as he saw it. To ensure his visit was as authentic as possible, James opted for a casual outfit, simple jeans, sneakers, and a plain black t-shirt. His goal was to gauge the staff's behavior and service without the influence of his status or reputation. As soon as James Bennett stepped into the gleaming showroom, he was met with an air of skepticism. Among the luxury sports cars, polished Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and Bugattis, a middle-aged salesman named Greg Collins intercepted him. Dressed impeccably in a sharp suit, Greg exuded confidence, but his demeanor quickly shifted to condescension as he glanced at James's casual outfit. When James expressed interest in a Lamborghini Huracan Spider, Greg's polite veneer thinned, revealing his underlying assumptions. "That's one of our most expensive models," Greg remarked, his tone carefully dismissive. "Are you sure you're in the right place?" Despite the veiled insult, James remained composed, calmly confirming his interest in the car. Unimpressed, Greg continued to question James's intentions. When James requested a test drive, Greg chuckled softly, as though the idea was absurd. "I'll check," he said, his tone dripping with insincerity. "But we don't offer test drives to just anyone." He walked off, muttering something to a colleague who glanced at James and laughed, amplifying his humiliation. A few moments later, Greg returned, shaking his head. "Unfortunately, the car isn't available for a test drive right now," he said, offering a forced smile. Instead, he suggested that James consider a more accessible model. The discriminatory undertones were unmistakable. Greg's actions reflected an assumption that James's appearance didn't align with the typical clientele for such luxury vehicles, leaving an impression of bias and disrespect. Unfazed but disappointed, James knew the encounter revealed deeper issues within the dealership's culture issues he was determined to address. James Bennett's interest in the Lamborghini Huracan Spider seemed to unsettle Greg Collins, the confident salesman who couldn't hide his skepticism. As James expressed his desire to explore the car further, Greg subtly yet pointedly implied that James didn't fit the typical profile of someone who could afford such luxury. "These cars are usually for a certain type of clientele," Greg remarked, his tone laden with judgment. Despite Greg's dismissive attitude, James remained calm and persistent. He reiterated his interest and asked for a test drive, but Greg's condescension only grew. "I'm just trying to save you time," Greg said, offering what he believed was a practical excuse, but the underlying bias was clear. He spoke as if James's casual appearance somehow disqualified him from being a serious buyer. When James pressed further, asking why Greg assumed he wasn't capable of purchasing the car, Greg awkwardly tried to justify his stance, but his reasoning only reinforced the stereotypes at play. To Greg, James didn't look like the kind of person who belonged in such an exclusive space, and he treated him accordingly. James's composure contrasted sharply with Greg's attitude, highlighting the unspoken barriers many face in spaces dominated by wealth and privilege. Though the encounter was demeaning, James recognized it as an opportunity to expose and challenge the biases ingrained in the dealership's culture. This was no ordinary customer interaction. It was a reflection of attitudes James was determined to change. As James Bennett stood in the showroom, reflecting on the dismissive treatment he had received, he was quietly approached by Sophie Alvarez, a warm and approachable administrative assistant. Sensing his frustration, Sophie discreetly acknowledged the unfair treatment he had experienced. "I'm really sorry about that," she said sincerely. her expression reflecting both empathy and discomfort. "This isn't the first time I've seen Greg act this way." Sophie's candidness stood in stark contrast to the condescending demeanor James had endured moments earlier. She admitted that the dealership had a culture where certain employees felt entitled to judge customers based on appearances. "Greg thinks he can decide who deserves attention," she explained, her tone a mix of frustration and resignation. When James inquired whether the manager would approve of such behavior, Sophie hesitated before responding. "The manager isn't as strict as he should be," she admitted. "He's reasonable, but sometimes he turns a blind eye to things like this. If you talk to him, though, I think he'd listen." James appreciated Sophie's honesty and her willingness to speak up, even in a challenging environment. Her approach demonstrated a level of professionalism and empathy that had been missing in his earlier interactions. While Sophie's comments shed light on the complacency within the dealership's leadership, they also reinforced James's resolve to address the deeper issues affecting the workplace culture. Sophie's small but significant gesture proved that change often begins with individuals willing to acknowledge what's wrong and take a step toward making it right. James Bennett, having endured Greg Collins's condescension long enough, calmly asked to speak with the dealership's manager. Moments later, David Cross, the manager, approached James, looking puzzled by the situation. James stood firm, his expression resolute. "Is there a problem?" David asked, clearly unaware of what was about to unfold. "There is," James replied. "I'm James Bennett, the new owner of this dealership. I came here today to observe how customers are treated, and your employee here has failed miserably." A stunned silence fell over the showroom as James's words sank in. Greg froze, his face pale with shock, while the other employees stood motionless, watching the scene unfold. James didn't mince words as he turned his attention to Greg. "The way you treated me today is completely unacceptable," he said, his voice steady but firm. "You made assumptions about me based solely on my appearance and dismissed me as if I didn't belong here. That kind of behavior has no place in this dealership or anywhere." Greg stammered, trying to defend himself. "It wasn't personal. I was just doing my job," he insisted weakly. But James was unyielding. "Not personal. You judged me and treated me unfairly because I didn't fit your idea of who belongs in this space. That's not just a mistake. It's a reflection of an outdated and discriminatory mentality." Oh, by publicly addressing the issue, James sent a powerful message to both the staff and the customers present. His actions made it clear that respect and fairness were non-negotiable values under his leadership, setting the tone for a new era at the dealership. James Bennett, now fully in control of the situation, turned his attention back to Greg Collins. The weight of Greg's actions hung heavily in the air as James addressed him firmly. "Your behavior today isn't just unprofessional, it's unacceptable," he began. "You judged me based on my appearance and made it clear you didn't think I belonged here. That kind of discrimination has no place in this dealership." Greg, visibly shaken, tried to defend himself. "I didn't mean it personally, it was just a misunderstanding," he stammered, searching for words to justify his actions. But James was unwavering. "Not personal. You dismissed me, mocked me, and made assumptions about who I am and what I can afford. This isn't a misunderstanding. It's a failure of character and judgment." Taking a deep breath, James delivered his decision. "You've shown through your actions that you don't represent the values I want for this dealership. Effective immediately, you're fired. Pack your things and leave." The room fell silent as Greg, realizing there was no way to salvage the situation, reluctantly walked out. His departure left an atmosphere of respect and anticipation as the remaining employees awaited James's next words. James addressed the staff directly. "What happened here today isn't just about one bad interaction. It's a reflection of a culture that needs to change. From now on, respect and equality will be the foundation of how we treat every customer who walks through these doors." He emphasized the importance of customer service rooted in dignity and fairness. "We're here because of our customers, and they deserve nothing less than to feel valued and respected, no matter who they are or how they look." With those words, James set a new standard, signaling a fresh start for the dealership. After addressing the staff about the need for change, James Bennett turned his attention to Sophie Alvarez. Her warmth and professionalism during the tense incident had not gone unnoticed. "Sophie," James began, his tone appreciative, "your attitude today exemplified everything this dealership should stand for: empathy, integrity, and respect." Sophie, visibly surprised, listened intently as James continued. "You approached me with genuine kindness and honesty when others dismissed me. That kind of character is exactly what I want to see in the people representing this business." He paused for a moment before making an announcement that stunned everyone in the room. "That's why, effective immediately, I'm promoting you to supervisor. You've shown through your actions that you embody the values we need to build a stronger, more inclusive culture here." Sophie's jaw dropped as the weight of James's words sank in. "Me? Supervisor?" she asked, overwhelmed. James nodded firmly. "Yes, because you demonstrated what true leadership looks like, respecting and valuing others, even in challenging situations." The staff erupted into applause, and Sophie's promotion became a defining moment in the dealership's transformation. It symbolized the new direction James envisioned, a workplace where character, not bias, determined success. Under James Bennett's leadership, the dealership underwent a remarkable transformation. No longer just a place for luxury cars, it became a symbol of respect and inclusion. James implemented a complete rebranding, ensuring that the values of dignity and equality were at the core of every interaction, both with customers and within the team. To mark this significant shift, James organized a community event at the dealership, inviting people from all walks of life to celebrate the change. The event featured a flash load for $2,000 per person to celebrate, and also testified to a total love of the company and a commitment to treating everyone with fairness and respect. The celebration sent a powerful message. Luxury isn't just about the cars, but about creating an environment where everyone feels valued and welcome. In an interview at the event, James expressed his vision, saying, "This dealership is no longer just about status, it's about respect. That's the true meaning of luxury." The event resonated with the community and solidified the dealership's reputation as a leader in not just high-end cars, but also progressive values, setting a new standard in the industry. James Bennett reflected on the events that had unfolded and the lessons they carried. For him, the experience underscored a fundamental truth. True luxury is not defined by price tags or exclusivity, but by the respect and dignity extended to every individual. Luxury, James remarked, is about creating an environment where everyone feels valued, regardless of their appearance or background. He called for a cultural shift, both within his dealership and beyond, emphasizing the importance of treating all people with fairness and compassion. James recognized that spaces often associated with wealth and privilege frequently foster exclusionary attitudes, but he was determined to change that narrative. His dealership would now serve as a symbol of equality, a place where customers weren't judged by their attire or preconceived notions, but welcomed with open arms. "Luxury is more than a product," James explained. "It's an experience rooted in respect, where people leave feeling better than when they arrived." This philosophy became the cornerstone of the dealership's rebranding efforts, driving every decision from staff training to customer interactions. By standing up against stereotypes and challenging outdated norms, James inspired his team and the community to rethink their attitudes, demonstrating that dignity and respect are the most valuable qualities a business can offer. The story ends. Let's take a moment to reflect on this powerful story. This is not just a story of personal triumph or business transformation, but also a reminder of the importance of fighting discrimination and embracing the values of respect and equality in every aspect of life. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell. Together we can create a world where dignity and respect are non-negotiable.